choose whether you want to own a car or use it as a service. You will be able to choose whether you want to, you know, have a fantastic experience, a driving experience, or be driven in an extension of your home.
Yeah.
So he's not wrong, but he's not right either.
Yeah. And then for you, Wendy, because you can see here in the exhibit, you can see different things also with the Dutch Inverters, also in collaboration with others. One of them is takeaway, about the mass consumption. Maybe first you can say something about that, because that's one of the main things now here at the Dutch Design Week.
Yeah. Yeah, we just, we had, when we started the meetings and we came together, we discussed the theme reduce. So we thought maybe the designers also focused on when we are using different materials in like textile factory or something like that, or big brands, they burn clothes to stay exclusive. So some designers focused on that and made a reaction on that with some new object. So yeah.
No, because I thought it was very interesting also going to less is more, and it's kind of needed. We cannot keep growing and making more stuff. But I was also wondering with you guys how you think of this, because this is like a thing that for me is like, yeah, of course we need to do that. But I mean, in your case, you have to make cars, right?
Yeah,
you have to. So how do you deal with that?
Well, the thing is, the world population is growing. Mobility gives people liberty. It gives people independence. It allows them to get to places where they need to get to work. So you can't say just because we have achieved a certain amount of mobility that we, with all the consequences, and we're going to not give it to you. You know. If you go to a country like India, where they have 14 cars per 1,000 people, you cannot say, look, we messed up, now you can't have it, you know? They want the same things as we do.
Yeah.
And so, but you can do it maybe in a different way, in a better way. And this is, I think, what I see the challenge, is, which is one of the reasons why Renault switched to electric vehicles already 6, 7, 8 years ago, and this is why the Alliance is now leader in electric mobility, is because we knew that with hybrids and stuff, the advantage, the emission reduction that we wanted is just not big enough. It needed to be more drastic than that. And I think this is why we're pushing incredibly hard on these types as EV mobility. But now we need to get the public and the people to convert as well. And so what's very often very striking to me is that a lot of people are talking to me a lot about ecology, and then you go, okay, but what car do you drive? And they drive some 20-year-old clunker, and there is nothing more dirty than a 20-year-old vehicle that you've been driving around forever.
Yeah.
So if everyone who talks about it would act like it, I think we would be in a much better shape already.
Yeah. And can you do something there as a designer that you force them, or you?
Well, I think it's our job to make these choices as attractive as possible.
Yeah.
You know, we cannot force people to make certain choices, but we can seduce them to make the right choices.
Yeah. And you, because
Bjarke Engels describes that quite nicely. He says we need sustainable hedonism.
Yeah.
We need to make it fun.
Yeah. It needs to. Yeah. We cannot preach to people.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I think Wendy does, which is really, really beautiful, is on the one hand, she wrangles the best talents together, 70 odd. I think that what she does is that she takes all the talents to a meta level. And she's basically, for the design industry, particularly in the Netherlands and in the rest of the world, she's like this wonderful outsourced R&D facility. And she puts out all of these thoughts and these ideas out there and technically open sources it to the industry. And she seems to be less inclined to work out, well, now that's been made, this particular piece, that's a commentary on plastic, which is upstairs in Mutant Matters. And then she doesn't think of, well, maybe I should harvest it and monetize it. And it starts to get boring for her when a gallery wants to buy it. So I think she does the most amazing, noble work in design,
Funny
in being
enough,
this wonderful outsourced R&D facility.
Yeah, it's actually one of the things that you really like about the Dutch Design Week. Is that there's so much involvement in the R&D perspective. Because you think that. Yeah.
The one thing to circle back to that question, though, like you used India as a reference, and I come from Africa, and I think some of these questions about hyperconsumption and growth is not terribly relevant when you're at the bottom end of the food chain and you're at the base of the pyramid. And so I think the idea for them is that people deserve empathy, they deserve dignity, they deserve wonderful housing. The question is, how do we do it? and what's the process around it that's absolutely sustainable. So these are the kind of questions that we're needing to address. And I think it's a very, very high-class problem. To have a problem of consumption, we haven't got there yet.
True, but on the other hand, you really believe in that design can actually change the world. That's one of your drives, actually. But then there's so many ways in which you can do it. Come up with better ideas, or also helping in the mindset, or what are other ways that, what can you do as a designer?
I don't think design on its own can. I think that design needs a place at that table. You know, we're doing a project at the moment with the United Nations. That will be in fall of 2019. We've tentatively called it Design United. And it's basically saying to them that, quite frankly, you talk to environmentalists, you talk to policymakers, you talk to economists. How about bringing the creative community? Because if you want to wrangle solutions for the 17 Sustainable Developmental Goals, for clean water, or better housing, maybe the creative community could be the kind of resource that you need to be able to tackle these problems. So I think what we are trying to do is to get a share of voice and get designers to this kind of table, and to be able to do and deal with the real crisis du jour, the big issues of the day, and not be relegated to being further down the food chain in helping make something look better.
But I agree with Ravi that in my team I have 30 nationalities, and I call them the United Nations of Design, you know, and but this idea that we cannot solve everything ourselves, this would be presumptuous to say. And I think if there's anything that you see and learn when you walk around here, is that you need the other disciplines, and you need the governments, you need, this is why I like the embassies that you have here of circularity and mobility and health, because they show you need a triangle of government, technology and design, in fact, to make it happen. And the idea that we need to have the ambition to change the world, I think this is really good. We need to be optimistic, but we need to be realistic in how it's going to be done, you know?
And I can imagine that sometimes it's just spoiler, because in a way, I mean, it's just a pity that it's so gone so terrible with the earth, because in a way then we're all like, okay, now what are you gonna do? You designers, how are you gonna solve it? And you're like, I just wanted to make something of plastic, and now I have this problem, you know,
but
in
you
a way
can be
that's
aware of it, of course. You, as person, as human, you can be aware of what you're doing. But we also need to, as designers, we can provoke it and really address it, and really, we are also in a way trendsetters. In a way, we are pioneers. So you need to show what is going on and how you can make it interesting to still have.
But I feel maybe sometimes it interferes with your real dreams, and then comes this agenda, and you're like, but that was my dream, and now I've got this to-do list, and you know. But I don't know if you ever feel like that, if you're kind of honest, that you're like,
yeah, but it's. I think if you're a design thinker, or this way of thinking, it's always, there's always an interesting solution, and it gives different ways you never could expect, which is super interesting. So I think it's really good that we combine different disciplines together, and we talk and we find new ways of way of living in a way.
I think the exciting thing about design, and in the way that people are referencing it, is that there's an expanded notion of what design is and what designers are. And you can be a researcher, you can be an interlocutor, you can be a catalyst, you can be a provocateur, you can be an activist. I mean, there are so many guises, and I think there's an essential hybridity to how we should practice design, and we need that kind of diversity, we need that kind of plurality, and I think designers can be absolutely central to solving some of these problems of the world because of the very nature of how they work.
But I think it's very idealistic maybe to think that can you truly make good design is kind of the question that you're asking. You know, is there always a disadvantage when you create something? Is the process of creation in itself not, you know, does it not always have a negative consequence? And I think we need to always, how can I say, aim for that it's at least more positive than negative, you know? It needs to be a positive experience.
No, but that was not only me, but I can imagine you as a little boy, and you draw a car, and you think like, that's my favorite car. But then it turns out it's totally useless, the consumer doesn't want to have it, but that was actually your dream. You always have to kind of adjust, and I was just thinking, when it comes to these environmental things, that sometimes it kind of spoils your bigger dreams where you want to go to.
Yeah, right. I mean, my first sketches in my drawing book was with cars with big exhaust pipes with huge clouds of smoke coming out, you know? I mean, that was my dream, and it was a very naive, childlike dream, but dreams develop as well, you know? And maybe the right dream, I'll find it in 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
That's a good segue, though, because just adjacent to her,
Yeah.
Marcus Fairs is convening a session right now about talking about good design for a bad world. And this whole question about our ethical framework and a kind of maybe an assertion that you can't have aesthetics without ethics. So
Yeah.
your fundamental thing is that you've got to have to be honest.
Yeah.
And, you can't practice design without being honest.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And before we're gonna, because you need to go somewhere, but then you have, Laurens, tomorrow is the future of mobility.
Yeah.
And then maybe tell us something about, because that's at 2 o'clock, here in
2
the
o'clock,
Klokgebouw.
it's
Winnie Maas is also
here
going,
in the
former ambassador.
Klokgebouw,
Yeah.
with Winnie Maas, one of my favorite architects.
Yeah.
He doesn't know this yet, but I've never really met him.
Yeah.
But he's from MVRDV, a very known Dutch studio. And we're going to talk about future of mobility. The first part, I'm going to show you all our concepts with all our latest thoughts on future mobility for personal mobility, but also for mobility services. Some of the concept cars we've done, some of them are here. And then we will have a joint discussion, Winnie and I. I'm really going to be excited because he apparently, he is able to talk 60 minutes in a 30-minute time frame, is what I've understood. So I'm going to try to squeeze myself into it a little bit. And I hope it's going to be a nice spectacle and a nice, discussion where sparks will fly.
And you've got like a whole week ahead of the Dutch Design Week. Yesterday you said, okay, went to London, Detroit, and Paris. Well, maybe it's nice to finish in Paris. Are you going to finish in Paris? Are you always thinking about it?
Now I'm starting to think.
Why not coming back to Holland?
Yeah. Why not finish in Eindhoven? Yeah. I could imagine this. This feels like the place we started. This has a bit of an atmosphere of permanent construction. All these buildings, you can do anything with it. It's one thing this year, another thing the next. Whereas Paris is a town which is completely finished. You can't move a stone. It's very beautiful, but it also, maybe it lacks some of this industrial, raw, entrepreneurial spirit that you really sense here. And this is nice. And I didn't know the sun was shining so often in Holland. So
yes.
I might
Thanks to the climate change, actually. It's summer in October.
I might actually come back.
I don't know, it's good, yeah.
No, of
I was
course
slightly
not.
crushed last night when you kind of intimate that could be your last job.
Yeah.
Well, but last
too
job
early
is
for
it's just there's just not many of these jobs.
Yeah.
So it's not a last job as
It's
in
not that you thought, I just want to finish
I'm just
that.
happy I have a job, Ravi. I'm happy.
That's cool.
I'm just happy I got a job. There's not many of these jobs around, so they don't advertise them. Put it that way.
Yeah. And then Wendy, I already said takeaway. You said a mutant matter, which is also here at the Dutch Design and het Veemgebouw.
Yeah.
And then takeaway, and then also Buitenpost is also another project. So it's
Yeah, we created with a client of us, Droomparken, if I can say. I don't know. Can I say something like that? Yeah. Because of the cameras, I was thinking like, no, Droomparken is a client of us, and they are a recreation park. They have 14 parks in the Netherlands, and they asked us like, we came up with a concept together, like fuck 9 to 5, basically, just to say like you can always work. It is not anymore like 9 to 5. So why not create a tiny office? So this tiny office is a place where you can think about your life planning. You can write, or you can make that important call, and you can sit and relax and look outside in a great atmosphere, great nature. So, so it's basically a new form or a form of working, which is different and normally. And so it's called the Outside Post. So it's now together we designed it with the architect Chris Colares, and we show in these work capsules or these tiny offices, we show 3 designers who show their way of working, their process, the stages of design. So this is Tim Smulders, Rob Koller, and Thomas Belouy. And they all have their own character in way of working. They also worked with Dutch Virtuals, so part of the Virtuals collective. Yeah. And you need to visit it because it's super nice to see how their way of working is, their process, what the process of design is basically. And so It's interesting. It's here at Ketelhuisplein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all here. And then Ravi,
Could be some research for you, a working pod.
Yeah, I'm
Actually,
dying,
yes,
I'm dying
do
to
it.
go over there. I'm
you
dying
can
to go
actually
over there.
implement it in the in
Yeah.
your work straight away.
Yeah.
And then Ravi, I'm so happy because you're bringing again the antennas.
Yeah,
And so tell us briefly about what's going to happen because
absolutely. And I'm going to plug it to all of you because it's on Monday at 2 o'clock.
yeah,
It's like a
here in
tonic.
Klokgebouw.
It's like here at the Klokgebouw, a tonic for your soul. It's a great optimistic thing. We've done a scan of the best design graduates across the world. We brought 20 out to present their graduation projects. They're fantastic. They are redefining the space. Last year we had this, this is the second edition.
Yeah.
And barring the conference itself, we have an exhibition of 60 designers from around the world. So if you want to take the pulse of where design's going and see the future trajectory of design, Monday between 2 and 6 p.m.
And then you know.
The second edition of
Then you
Antenna.
know.
Yeah,
I will.
cool.
It's good for you to actually.
Yeah.
And actually, can you say something about?
You may find someone you'd like to employ there.
You know it from the start, yeah?
Yeah.
The Dutch Design Week. Where do we come from and where do we go? Where do we come from? Naidoo. No, but what's actually? Can you say something about that? Looking back
I think
and
Ravi is best placed. You've been here
Yeah?
forever, in fact. Huh?
Yeah, I've been part of the furniture and I really, really like this. I mean, I actually think there's 3 dimensions to what I see them doing.
Yeah?
I love the fact that they're amping up the celebration of graduate work and student work. So it's becoming way more of a developmental kind of incubator. I think I really like that. I love the embassies and these beautiful kind of deeply researched spaces. And every year, interesting people bid for the rights to do an embassy on issues of the day, be it on food or health or robotics.
Yeah.
I think that format is wonderful. But I'm particularly excited about the fact that they're now starting to really spearhead and start new projects. And I'm hearing of interesting things in the pipeline, like a social housing project that would be spearheaded between Dutch Design Foundation and ABN AMRO. And I think when you start to get in there and get more gonzo and roll up your sleeves and do some heavy shoveling, I think then it'll really start to hit the sweet spot about what design is for and to really be exemplars of what you stand for.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And take some risk. Yeah.
And you, maybe the more philosophical.
No, I'm
No, but
in a way super
you're always
practical.
kind of ahead of things. Well, I know, but sometimes I feel you're always kind of ahead of things, and you're always having this future thing that you still need to make it more tangible. Yeah, grasp it and make it more tangible. But still, what can you? Do you see some colors or what?
Colors. Now the color is blue at the moment. Actually, I think we always, as Dutch Virtues, we always focus on future way of thinking, and we constantly want to rethink the time frame we're in now and how it's going to be.
Yeah.
So we really focus on to inspire, and I think with the Dutch Design Week, what is really important that they also inspire to change, and I think this is it's getting bigger and more known. And everybody knows here you can really see the first sketch, the first experimental works, which are super interesting. From there you can continue and you really can spread that around you. So everybody takes
researching,
something.
sketching, getting a view of what's going to happen, and we're all in this search of the future in a way. As in,
yeah, I think it's important that the Dutch Design Week is also, of course, focusing and keep on refreshing, renewing, see things
asking
in a different perspective, and asking questions, what they do now. If not us, then who, This is really interesting and relevant.
Yeah.
So that's really important that we keep on doing that instead of looking for only sellable works, but also question a lot of things and keep on questioning. That's really important.
okay, cool. And you, maybe we see you after Paris.
Yeah.
Is there a déclic, and then you think, I go to
No,
Eindhoven.
When I come to Eindhoven, and I'm always, frankly, I walk around and I'm going like, I didn't know this was design. I didn't know this was design. 50% of the stuff that I see here, I was thinking, I'm scratching
50?
my head.
Yeah.
More.
Well, 75%. I'm scratching my head. I think I didn't know this was considered design. So it really makes me question a lot of the things that we do. It shows that in the car industry we're in an extremely, myopic view of design, very competitive environment which pulls us in. So frankly, to be around here, to
if you want to get rid of your narrow-mindedness, then come to Eindhoven.
I think this is the place to be.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you so much, all of you. Ravi, Naidoo, Wendy, Plomp, and Laurens van den Acker. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you all. And tomorrow from 11 o'clock on, it's Dutch Design Week special live again. See you then. And enjoy the whole week. Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Hey, thanks. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, a quick announcement while you're still here.